You're fired. I know, the video title and the introduction was kind of clickbaity and provocative, but the honest truth is, I have moved on from using tube amps to record and perform Chords of Orion music, and I'd like to talk about why. So, first of all, a little bit of my background. I played for many years in a progressive rock band, and I used and loved tube amps, in particular small Fender tube amps. When I played in the band. I had a late 70s deluxe reverb that I loved, and it created some really great sounds. Check this out. When I stopped playing in the band to be a parent, father, husband, that type of thing, I really kind of stopped playing electric guitar for a number of years. So in the late 90s, 2000-ish kind of time frame, when I decided to pick electric guitar back up, my first impulse was to get another tube amp. I had sold my old tube amps. So I did and began using them again pretty regularly for a few years. I even went so far as to get a THD univalve, which I really loved because you can swap tubes in and out and really affect the tonal character of the amp. But when I began to make the transition from analog to digital recording, which was around 2003 or so, I really had trouble getting good tones out of my tube amps. I then began a journey of then exploring other alternatives, i.e. amp modeling. And after a few years, I found a couple of units that I liked. And ever since then, I've been a big proponent of amp modeling. And here's some reasons why. First of all, low volume. That's a big deal for me. I am not in my 20s anymore, as you all know, and the ears just can't take the loud volume anymore. One of the things I really like about amp modelers is the ability to dial in a tone and then play it back at whatever volume you wish. Secondly, another benefit that I found from using amp modelers is the smaller size. In general, that smaller footprint. That's worked really well for me, as the studio that I have here, which I've never really shown you, is a very small space. So having a unit that takes up less space is really a good thing for me. Number 3 for me is the ease of achieving a stereo image. Almost everything that I record as Chords of Orion includes some type of stereo guitar, and that amp modeler really helps me achieve it very easily. If I were still using tube amps, I'd have to use 2 amps and mic them separately to achieve the same type of stereo image. Number 4 for me is the ability to leverage multiple amp models. So again, I've got a couple of really cool low wattage custom-built tube amps, but they only really have one sound. Even if I were to swap out the power tube for a different brand and get a slightly different tonality, it would still be the same basic tone. I'd still be running through the same speaker cabinet, but with an amp modeler, I can radically change the tone of the guitar. Number 5 is one that I really like, and that's the ability to place pedals and effects in your chain after the amp model and the cab simulation. Now, this is really important because, for example, if you take a delay pedal and place it before the amplifier, the simulation and the cab, it has a totally different tone than if you place it after the amp model and the cabinet simulation. And if I was running a real tube amp, my only 2 options would be to run it between the guitar and the input, or if my tube amp had an effects loop, to put that delay pedal in the loop, but that would still be in front of the speaker cabinet itself. Number 6, this is another good one for me, and that is the ease of recording. With an amp modeler unit, especially a rack mount unit, I can leave it set up, connected to my audio interface. All I have to do is come into the studio, turn it on, and I'm ready to go. There's nothing else to do. There's no mic setup, no level checks, no nothing. It's all ready to go. That's really important for me. Finally, let's talk about tone, and I can anticipate your question already. You're thinking to yourself, Bill, Are you seriously saying that an amp modeler sounds better than a high-quality tube amp? And no, I'm not saying that. I do think that a high-quality tube amp is a thing of beauty, and it sounds amazing. But you know what? The fact is, amp modeling is getting better each and every year, and I think it's creeping up to the point where it's pretty close. So maybe that high-quality tube amp is an incremental improvement now instead of a dimensional improvement. And the truth is, as an ambient guitarist, I'm smearing the amplifier tone so much with effects pedals that incremental improvement is kind of hard to hear. So what's your take on it? Are you still using tube amps or any other type of real amp, or have you made the switch to amp modelers? I would love to hear all about your experiences and perspectives, so please comment below. And if you haven't already done so, I'd love it if you would subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification, and join the Chords of Orion constellation, an awesome community of ambient guitarists. And as always, I'll see all of you on the next video.